You know, me and Willie Nelson's got the same problem now.
Where you and Willie Nelson? This is probably not on camera, so we're cool. But
what's your problem?
Problem you have with
yeah.
Willie Nelson, and you have the same problem.
Yeah, we both have finally outlived our peckers.
Too much information.
Too much information.
Too much information.
We're not on it.
So, are we on? Was that on?
No, that wasn't on.
Oh, because I was going to segue and say we're going.
It wasn't on.
No, I was going to segue. No,
so tell them about this right here.
Well, we're going to talk about a quickie with Hulk Hogan. Was what they told me.
Okay.
So December 19th, 1985, but it was aired on January 4th, 1986. On Saturday night's main event, Tampa, Florida, the USF Sundome World Wrestling Federation. Terry Funk challenges for the WWF Heavyweight title on network TV against what you're going to do when those pythons run all over you. First of all, what was it like being in the WWF?
Well,
was Mr. NWA.
No, that was a real tough deal too there, you know. I mean, guys were really pushing it at that time. They were, you know, pushing it like crazy. Because
pushing what?
They had small numbers at that time.
WWF,
yeah, trying to get around to all of the territories and do all of the things, and everybody was overworked.
Okay.
And like at that time, I did like 60, 64, 65 day run. They don't do that anymore.
No.
And a lot of the guys was doing the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys were and they had a lot of great performers up there. Some of my favorite wrestlers of all time were up there then.
In the WWF.
You bet.
Now you were...
Jimmy Snuka and them, I mean, my gosh. I mean, how can you get any better than that?
Oh, I mean, he was fabulous back then.
Fabulous guy.
Now, you were a staunch NWA guy, and a lot of fans, you know, when people like Terry Funk went to WWF, fans would be like, you're taking a mark on your old traditionalism by going to sports entertainment here. How did you deal with that?
It really wasn't at that time. I don't think it was sports entertainment.
Well, I mean,
but I mean, it was entering into that.
Absolutely.
And it came through a process, which it had to do, which we all agree to that. And Vince, you know, I mean, I would have said, "Oh, we're not going to be sports entertainment." Well, our profession evolved into sports entertainment, and I think it was a smart thing that Vince did.
Oh, absolutely.
When he determined it sports entertainment.
And this was broadcast on, if I remember correctly, on NBC. So this was, now here you are.
I mean, here we are on NBC.
You and Hulk Hogan, network TV. And what was it? Tell me about Hulk Hogan.
Why was Terry Funk on there with Hulk Hogan?
That's a good question for you to answer.
Yeah, it really is. Because I was a willing individual. A lot of guys felt like that'd be a detriment to them. You know, some of the stars down up there felt like that would be a detriment to go ahead and lose on national TV. I didn't think it would be.
No?
I thought it'd be a positive, you know.
What made it a positive?
The numbers that were watching you.
Right, so they got to see you.
Yes.
It was, you were marketing you.
That's
actually
exactly
at that
right.
point. Sure.
Getting several minutes on national TV at the time was a big deal. That was the first time it was on national TV.
Which, of course, would help you anywhere else you went. For example, if you want to be in a movie or something like this, people were now seeing you.
I was already into movies.
Well, if you want to be in other movies, they were seeing you on TV. People who might not have seen those movies. You never know.
I was quite the movie star, too.
I know you were. We will get to that. Now, the money.
I mean, I did some pretty big things, you know.
Paradise Alley, Over the Top. You did a lot of movies. Now, the money in the WWF.
It was good, too.
You were excellent.
I am a retired artiste.
Well, here...
An artiste, man.
Not an artist, an artiste.
I get a paycheck every month. I do. I get a paycheck every month, you know. Hey, Hogan don't have anything on me here.
Well, Hulk Hogan also became, transcended wrestling, was in so many movies, and here you are now.
There's only one thing wrong with that, though, but he did a lot.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. You know, and Terry is, I'm going to tell you something, I'm proud of Terry, like Ric Flair, I'm a typical wrestler, I'm a typical wrestler. I mean, I've got the wrestler's heart. I don't want anybody to ever be better than me. I want to be the best wrestler in that ring. I want to be the best performer. If it's acting or whatever it is, you know, if it's a movie, I want to be the best at what I do.
Of course.
And then, boy, you know, as if I'm not, you know, I mean, if I'm not the biggest star there is, well, God dang it, the ones that are, I'm jealous of them. I want to be in their position. Is that natural?
Absolutely. You want to you want to stand out.
I want to stand out.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
I want to stand out so much.
I
want to stand out so much and everything that sometimes I hate them and despise them. You know, I mean, is that sick?
Not really. No, it depends who it comes from.
Oh yeah, I don't really hate them and despise them, but I think, dang, that son of a bitch, I can do that better than him. Look at that shit. I'm better than that. I can. Boy, if I had that chance, I'd go ahead. I think that's in every wrestler. I think it is. I mean, it should
I'm listening.
be.
I'm watching.
It should be in every wrestler. It should be. My God, I'm going to be the best.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
and here you have two of the best. Now, there's Jimmy Hart tripping Hogan out. You worked with Jimmy Hart many times in Memphis and Now, whose idea was it to bring Junior in and call him Hoss after his long storied career?
You want me to tell you who that was? That's the smartest man in wrestling.
Who was that?
That's the guy that was the guy that had that idea. You know, I mean, that was really a great one, wasn't it? That was the man.
Vince Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you can say it here. We're sitting back in the living room here, relaxing. And what about Chainsaw Charlie?
No, I don't think it was. You know, I think it was a good idea, and I think it would have worked. I was worn out at the time that took place, so I'd had a run up there, and I was ready to go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wondered why McMahon Sr. probably never brought.
That's why they brought in Jimmy Jack.
Why?
Because my gosh, I'd gone up there and honestly and seriously, I'm kind of a Bolshevik, you know, kind of a nut, you know, and I like to be my own boss and do my own thing, and you know, and I always did that in the business, you know, and that was why it was always hard for me to work for Vince. Would I have been better off if I'd have gone ahead and probably stayed up there a lot of times? You bet.
Financially, you would have been.
Oh my gosh, I would have been financially better off.
Absolutely.
You know, so I made mistakes in this business a lot of times.
Now you were
not many.
Not many.
I mean, and I'm not sure it's a mistake. I'm not sure it's a mistake.
No,
but I probably should have stayed up there with my brother at that time.
Now Dory, though, as Hoss, he was a totally different character there. I mean, the NWA fans knew him as just this clean-cut, you know.
Well, I think it would have been. Yeah, I think it would have been I think probably, if I would have stayed up there, I think it would probably have gotten over very strong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I believe that. Absolutely believe that.
I do. I think it would have been a very strong situation with him.
Now, I don't know if you're evading this question because I asked you twice. I don't know if you heard it or not.
I'm sure I did.
Chainsaw Charlie. Whose idea was that? Why did that happen?
That was another one, kind of like Dr. Knows It All.
Oh, okay. Was that your idea?
That was mine.
And Vince?
It was totally mine. Vince says, I went in one day, I said, hey, Vince, I want to be Chainsaw Charlie. He said, okay. You know, and why did I want to be Chainsaw Charlie?
Why?
Well, you know, he said, well, why Chainsaw Charlie, you know? And I said, I got this friend of mine, John Ayers, played ball for the 49ers, and his son was, why Chainsaw Charlie? And he says, because his son would go, he'd take his son down there and get a haircut. His son was about 6 years old, and the guy that gave him a haircut charged $1.25, and what he'd do is he'd go ahead and cut his hair, you know. But his hair looked horrible after he got through with it. He'd give him a buzz cut for $1.25. And that buzz cut looked horrible, and the kid used to say, oh my God, Daddy, it looked like you cut my hair with a chainsaw, you know, and the guy's name was Charlie.
That's where you got it from?
Yeah, the barber's name was Charlie, so that's how I came up with Chainsaw Charlie, and that's God's honest truth.
Wow. Getting back to the
But
Hogan
Barber
match.
was a creative guy. He didn't know how creative he was, did he?
You took it from him. You got to pay him a
I took it
royalty
from
on
him,
that.
yeah.
Getting back to this match, in our again our wonderful research department. Thank you. I know you're watching this out there. It
Whoa.
says here in his book, Terry claims that he took the match against Hogan because none of the other heels wanted to do a job for Hogan on network TV for fear it would hurt their heat. Funk didn't care because he knew he could stay hot even with the loss. 8 minutes 30 seconds. It was all over.
Yeah, I was a hottie back then.
So you were.
Yeah, I stayed hot.
What about your program with Junkyard Dog? Tell us about working against Junkyard Dog.
That was
JYD.
JYD was an experience. He was, and you know, I want to say something is that there was nobody better to be with. I mean, he was over like gangbusters.
He certainly was.
Yeah,
He
was.
He was one of the great baby faces. Any territory he'd go to.
Yeah, he was.
So they loved him. They absolutely
he was like
loved him.
working with the yeah. He's quite the guy and quite over. And JYD was he was a special guy to go in the ring with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, but why don't you ask me about my other time whenever I was up there? Whenever I went ahead and went in the ring with the announcer.
Tell us about it.
Why don't you?
With the announcer.
Yeah, with the announcer at the front of the ring there. Who was it that was up there? Then I
They
went
had
ahead
several.
and jerked him over the top
Mel
rope.
Phillips.
And Mel Phillips.
That was the next question here.
Yeah.
About Mel Phillips.
I jerked him over the top rope. Kicked the living dog doo-doo out of him.
And why did you do that?
Put on your hat.
Because because he put on my hat, but you got some similarities between you
To
and
Mel Phillips?
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of you look a little bit like Mel. I never did like Mel.
I'm not a big foot person.
I never did
though.
like. I never did like.
I'm
the
into
way he
breasts,
looked.
not feet.
I never did like the way Mel looked. And
Well, I can't look
and-
like Mel Phillips, do you?
Yeah.
I've known you too long for that. We talk. What? Oh, so let's talk about stuff like the barbecue with Lord Al Hayes. So you were talking about wrestling going into shtick time, you know, this kind of thing. For a guy who was a pure wrestler at heart, so to say, who didn't do any of this kind of stuff before you came there, the barbecue with Al Hayes and so many of these other things you did, at that point had you gone like, maybe I took it all too seriously before, I should just, you know, sit back, enjoy this and get involved?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely, you know. Had a lot of fun with that. I had a lot of fun with doing you know, I did some promos up there from the ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of fun with them. You know, there was something special and something different. Again, it was very creative.
Yeah.
And creative on my part.
So the stuff like the Tuesday Night Titans and all that, or the talk show that Vince did, that kind of stuff, that was fine with you?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Did you feel the business was evolving and that if you didn't go with it, you were going to get left behind?
Absolutely. You know, the thing about the business at that time, and I'm serious about this, you know, that time was a very, very changing times in the business, you know. But at that time, you had the promoters of the 35 areas and everything else across the country that were out there that, and I knew that times had changed. What had changed it is geography and the satellite system that we had that went into the deal, you know, and Vince was going to be there. And he was always going to be there. And it was a thing that was going to happen because of basically the big thing it had to do with is where he was geographically. He was in the center of things and being
he was in the heart.
City. He was in the heart and capable of doing it. And he was capable of getting that out there. And what happened is television, because he came in there week after week after week, and you were wrestling in there week after week after week.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever he came to town, it was the circus coming to town.
Yeah.
It was the same thing as Joe up there on the square of the little small town that's sitting down there and is trying to sell a few groceries, and in comes Walmart.
Yeah.
Walmart blows you away.
Wipes the little guy out.
Yeah, and Walmart, yeah. Walmart and Vince McMahon have a lot in common.
Now what?
They do.
What your dealings with Vince? Now, first of all, a lot of people think this mid-'80 thing is when you first went up there, but I remember meeting you at Madison Square Garden with your father in
Who did I wrestle?
1971. Oh my goodness! It was either
Roberto Soto and somebody else.
It was either Johnny Rods or Vincente Palmetti, one of those guys.
Yeah, but it was two guys, two Puerto Ricans.
Yeah. But I
we
remember
went into the ring, yeah.
And that's when that was your first taste of it. And I always wondered.
That's whenever that I claim that somebody came down the ring and says, "Daddy." Daddy said to cool the heat, and I said, "Get the hell out of here, kid."
Too much heat at Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
It never was enough. It was always tremendous. But I always wondered what your dealings were with Vince Sr. and then Vince Jr. Could you briefly give us like what the difference was dealing between both of those guys?
You know, we were always at odds together. We were always at odds because of the Japan situation.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because New York was with Inoki.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we were with Baba's organization. So therefore we were always at odds.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time they took Abdullah from us.
Yeah.
So at the same time,
Inoki took Abdullah from Baba, you're saying. Right.
Abdullah from Baba.
Right.
So at that time, it was time to get even. So we took Stan Hansen from New York.
Mm-hmm.
And he was right on. He was in all of the main events at that time.
I remember that. But what I'm asking is the difference
and
between...
Vince Sr. was very upset with that.
Right.
But I was very upset with Vince Sr.
Mm-hmm.
for allowing them to take Abdullah from us.
Right. Right.
You know.
Right.
So it was kind of a deal like trying to hurt each other, you know. And,
what about your dealings with Vince Jr.? When he started taking over...
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about
yeah.
him, as I'll tell you the truth about him. You know, as I like to go ahead and say this and that, but one thing that I can't... I've got to tell you one thing, is that he has paid me, and paid me well, and I respect him for that. And if I was in his position, would I have done the same thing? Probably.
Okay.
Probably, absolutely. Do I like what he did? Well, of course not. Because I was always kind of on the other side. Do I like that? Why, hell no, I don't like it. And then listen to that. If you were in his position, would you have done the same thing? Yeah.
Probably yes.
Yes, I would have.
Probably yes.
Is he a smart man? Damn right he is. He has done a wonderful job with the world of wrestling. He has taken it to heights that
nobody ever thought
nobody ever thought, nobody ever dreamed of seeing this and that, and had the foresight of to where the profession should go.
And if it's all over the world.
He's all over the world. The world
He's
is his game, and he's way ahead of his time. He's still ahead of his time.
Well, Terry, we're going to...
You know, but you know, this is very important, what I must say right now. He's still ahead of his time, and he will be ahead of his time, and so will his son and his daughter and his in-laws. And you know what I mean? I'm talking about Triple H and all of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're really sharp, and they're really doing the profession right. But I myself, there's just something about me that is different, and I've always been, you know, my world, I don't want it to be a big world like that. I don't want it to be that cluttered. And I think people make the wrong choices at times whenever they try to expand their world, where they should try to
be the little fish.
Let me tell you something. My world's a wonderful world. It's my family, and that's it.
Yeah.
At this time. And that's my life, and that's what it's going to continue to be.